everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Office Hours with Jess. It is job application season, especially for people applying to assistant professor positions. So I thought that I would create a video explaining some of the intricacies of the terms that you see thrown around when it comes to types of assistant professor jobs. These are questions that I get all the time from students, other postdocs, and also just like I didn't know any of this when I was applying, or I knew some of it, but some of it was still very unclear. So I want you all to have the full knowledge as you are on the job market and explain to you what some of these terms mean. The key ones being tenure track and hard versus soft money. So those are the two key topics I'll cover today. So I'll start with tenure track. That was something I sort of understood before applying to jobs, but I didn't understand how it actually worked in practice. But I knew that I wanted a tenure track position, so I only applied to jobs that were tenure track. So that means that essentially once you are in the assistant professor position, then you are on this pathway to go from assistant professor, associate professor, and then full professor. And then at some point in that journey, you get tenure. That's why it's called tenure track. And that tenure means that you have a forever job at the university, and it would take a lot for them to fire you. So of course that is very appealing for assistant professors or professors in general, because that's job security for life. And I understood that piece, but I didn't understand, how one moves through assistant to associate professor when the tenure happens. So I'll explain that to you now. And this can vary across different universities and different institutions. So again, this is my sort of experience from interviewing at different places and talking to different people, but generally this is kind of what it's like. So you'll start off as an assistant professor on tenure track. So you're not tenured yet, but you're tenure track. You're on track to get tenure. And it takes anywhere from 6 to 7 years before you get bumped up to associate or promoted to associate professor. And usually at that point, that's generally when tenure also happens. And then in that time frame from, assistant to associate, either at the 3 or 4 year mark, you'll go up for review. And that is generally just to make sure that you are on track to get tenure. And then the things they review you on are things that I've talked about in some of my other videos. And again, the priorities of these 3 categories differ based on different institutions, but generally it is research, teaching and mentoring, and service to the university and in general. So that's how you get to that first point. And then once you get to associate, most places that's also around the same point, you also get tenure. And then from there, it also kind of is like another anywhere between 5-7 years, and then you can go up for full professor. And that's sort of the highest that you can get to. So that's the track. Right now I know more about, the first half, which is going from assistant to associate, and I'll figure out associate to professor later, and hopefully that will be a problem that I have in the future. So that's what tenure track means. Now, if you get a position that's not tenure track, there are still opportunities for you to go up in the ranks of assistant to associate to full professor. You just won't get tenure in that process. And there were some jobs that I was looking at that had that, and that's okay. It's just based on what you are willing to have as a part of your job. So for me, I want, me, I like certainty and hate uncertainty. So wanting that tenure and job security was a big piece of when I was looking for positions. So that's what tenure track means. Now, the other piece that you'll see thrown around a lot when looking for jobs, for professor jobs, is hard versus soft money. And this is something it took also a while for me to understand. And I still sometimes get confused because I'm like, why do they use hard and soft, the way things feel when it comes to salary? But hard versus soft basically means whether the salary is guaranteed to you no matter what, or it's dependent on external funding. So a hard money position is just your salary, you get it, and that's that. It's not dependent on outside factors, the grants you pull in, but generally it is tied to a little bit more teaching. Soft money, the reason why it's called soft is that it does depend on external funding. I don't really understand. I guess, I don't know if people are in soft money positions, they just don't get paid if they don't get grants. I really don't understand, but it is dependent on external funding. And generally those positions are a little bit more research oriented because they want to give you that time to pull in the grants. So they're less teaching focused. And generally in those positions, soft money positions, the institution will give you like a nice healthy startup, so that way they don't expect you to come in as an assistant professor with like a ton of grant money. So they give you some startup funds to fund some pilot research and a couple years of your salary, but then after that you're sort of slowly expected to start covering your salary. Now, I've seen positions and was interested in one that was actually half and half, like half hard, half soft money. So those also exist. So there are hybrid positions. So that it could be anywhere between 0 and 100% hard versus soft. So it really depends. And again, that's at the end of the day dependent on your comfort level. For me, I am currently in a hard money tenure-track position. And for me, again, I like that certainty, even though it comes with a little bit more teaching. Again, I don't have that constant pressure and anxiety of feeling like I need to apply for grants. Now, I was once given this advice of like, well, if you're going to be pulling in grant money for your research projects, it doesn't really matter if you're in a hard versus soft money position, because no matter what, you're going to want to get those grants so that you can be that like leading researcher in your field. And I kind of get that because I'm still applying to a lot of grants right now as a hard money assistant professor. But at the same time, I do feel like there's no stress around it. Like I'm doing it because it would be nice to have, but I'm not doing this because my, food on the table and my rent depends on it. So it's a different kind of stress, and that's something I'm comfortable with, and it varies from person to person. So that's kind of the explanation. Now, in hard money positions like the one that I have, when you do get external grant funding, and again, this depends on every institution, what you negotiate, all of that, you can sometimes take that grant money and add some of it, maybe not all of it, on top of your hard money salary. Again, that just depends. So I think there's a lot of room for different options when it comes to hard versus soft money, but that's generally what it means. And I think when you're looking at positions, you should think about, okay, do I want something that's tenure track, and do I want something that's hard or soft money, or some combination of both? So that's my video for today, just going through some of that terminology to clear that up. And again, this is stuff that I wasn't super clear on before and wish I had known a little bit more clearly going into my job search, but now I'm sharing this with you all, so you all can have this knowledge now. But I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Again, if you are enjoying my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And then I'll see you on another episode of Office Hours with Jess. Thank you.